Welcome into Looking Up with Laird here on Sorare TV. I am Andrew Laird, head of content at Sorare Data, joined once again by Misters Sam Tighe and Harry Trades. Gentlemen, we were just talking about how much we wanted to pat each other on the back for our calls, but we're not going to do it this week. Not completely, at least, and not right away. But we are, I will simply say that if you are a frequent watcher of the show, and you have looked into some of the players that Mr. Trades and Mr. Tighe have brought up, I think you're probably doing okay. If you want to see who we've been talking about without watching the videos, if you could at least like go watch or pull the video up and hit the like button. But there is a watch list available that you can follow these players. Sam also pointed out that one of the benefits of following that watch list on Sorare Data is that you actually get the players before this video goes up. So we usually tape these on Wednesday. They go live Thursday, but the list is updated on Wednesday. Don't tell anyone, but just go and like the list. It's called Looking Up with Laird on Sorare TV, and you'll just get these guys before everyone else gets to watch the video. So, Sam, I'm going to start with you this week for the very specific reason that you are going to pump a player that I happen to own. And sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. No. But seriously, we talk about who we're going to discuss beforehand. And you gave me the first guy, or the first one you mentioned to me. I kind of jokingly replied that that player will just end the show. That, like,
yeah, you threatened to shut the entire thing down.
I was like, I don't want to talk, like, this will be the last episode because you're going to bring this guy up. But then you completely redeemed yourself by bringing up a guy that I happen to have. It was a card that I won 2 weeks ago that, I'll be honest, I feel like I hit the tier 3 lottery with this player. And I actually thought you were joking when you said you were going to bring him up. So instead of starting with the guy that I wanted to end the show with, meaning stop the show completely, let's start with my new favorite player for this week.
Okay, you say you hit the tier 3 lottery. I mean, I hope you're being serious, but I don't know how much use a super rare version of this player is, but at least from a limited and a rare perspective, which is more my area, Majid Husseini from Kayserispor in Turkey, I think is a very interesting look at the moment. It's going to start a little theme, I think, for me this week, which is ultimately looking at threshold players or close to it. And I look at this player, and I look at the card, and I look at the utility, and then I look at the price, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. That price is simply too low. He's a mid-20s centre-back. He's a consistent starter. He plays in a European league with 38 games a season. And the Sorare calendar is seriously working in his favour. Mm-hmm. And he's probably got 2 or 3 World Cup games as well because he starts for Iran. So just looking at his price, £100 for a rare, I just thought, that's really weird. And I also thought that was it at 80, how many rares is it? 88 or something? 86?
81.
81. That's quite scarce by rare standards, I'd say, at this stage of the platform. I'd say anything under 100 is relatively scarce. It's not super scarce, but there just aren't that many of this guy. And if you go to his scores, I mean, I appreciate that he had a little bit of a dip recently off the back of some DNPs, which was an injury, and then he took a couple of games to get going. But this is the kind of player that you're looking at here, and you look at the L15, L40, prove it out. The scores are typically above 50. And this is a player, I think, that has dipped a little bit in because of those DNPs and that injury. He's back now. He's put up some decent scores in the last couple of game weeks. If you're a threshold player and you want a consistent starter, you want a centre-back, you want plenty of games in the season, you want a good baseline score, and you're looking to buy a little bit low because of something that's happened recently, I think Husseini is a great shout there. Genuinely great shout. And then consider the World Cup bonus utility if you can cobble a squad together. And then consider that only Scotland comes back quicker than Turkey from the World Cup because Kayserispor have a game on the 28th of December. Like, Turkey are bang on it. So guys from this league are looking really, really good right now, in my opinion, if you're looking to get back on that threshold grind as quickly as possible after the World Cup. So if you do need a defender, I would look at this person.
I couldn't be happier that you brought this up. And I'm going to actually address one of the things you said early on. So as I said at the beginning, I won a super rare of this player before. I don't win many super rares. I compete for super rare, or excuse me, I enter lineups in competitions that reward super rares. And like I said, I don't win many super rares. So I happened to win Husseini 2 weeks ago. And I really do, like, I meant that I felt like I hit the tier 3 lottery. I think I was in a spot for a tier 2, and then I think it was Minero still had to play. That pushed me into tier 3. I think I was the 3rd tier 3 finisher. And I looked at these scores and I'm like, okay, he's had a run previously. Obviously the DNPs don't help the sporadic ones. I think a few of them were with Iran, so like that made me feel a little bit better. But it's funny that you were like, it's a good threshold player. I don't know about the super rare, because there's actually a lot of similarities in terms of the types of players that you can compete with when it comes to super rare. So like All-Star super rare, Challenger Europe super rare, the specific super rare division is usually a lower scoring division when it comes to winning rewards. And part of the reason for that is that a lot of people like to use their elite super rare, like the truly elite ones, in the unique division. So like the old division 1. And some of the elite super rares are also in rare pro, because you can win like the elite rares in that region or in that competition. And the super rare division had some reward issues previously. Like they usually don't reward star super rares. Those are kind of reserved for the unique division. And then they made them a little better. So the tier 1 prize pool was like absurdly good when we had that kind of like avalanche of clubs, of new cards coming in. And then they were also giving away a star rare. So like Sorare did like a better job of making the top of the super rare division better. Also, people who regularly play the super rare division don't love winning tier 3 super rares. Like if they're already competing there, a lot of people don't need those cards. And frankly, like super rare cards that don't score that well are hard to sell. And so it's just not the most attractive division to compete in for a lot of like the bigger galleries that have super rares. And because of that, they're just lower scores to win. And so a player like Husseini here actually kind of fits the mold of, he's not going to score 65 every week, but if you have some 60s, some 50s, if you can spike to 98, like that's really helpful. And like I said, I was thrilled to win this card, to be honest. And the fact that he has the World Cup utility wasn't really factored for me. But what I have been doing is just what you mentioned. Turkey comes back really soon, and as does Scotland. I think the Jupiler League also has like a near Christmas return.
It does, yeah. So, that and the Premier League. There's like 4 of them.
Right. And we don't have enough of the Premier League yet for me to worry about that. And so, yeah, I was all over it. I love this call. And I think just to kind of jump on the whole Super League thing, meaning the Turkish Super League, is I think there are consistently undervalued players in that league. There is probably more rotation than some people really want. But if you can familiarize yourself with this league, there are a lot of really good opportunities there. And yeah, if we want to just keep pumping Husseini, let's just go.
Can I borrow your super rare to put it with my my single solitary one who's on his own?
I can't. He's like first in my super rare team now. So,
captain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I'm in. I love this call. And I also just say, for anybody who's like willing to do the work, I think the Turkish Super League has like a lot of really good, like undervalued players, because I don't know why, but they just do. And they're back soon after the World Cup, so you can have a little more extra utility in that respect.
So a nice way to end it is that on the screen right now is one representative from each of the nations in World Cup Group B.
Great call. Great call.
So don't captain him in the game week where Iran play America. Otherwise, you have to burn your flag.
Yeah, no, I can't. No, I would certainly never dream of that. But yes, good call. That's. I guess Harry, you'll see him in person, right?
Hopefully, yeah. If he starts, or maybe if he's on the bench, I'll be able to give you a little message into our little group chat and let you know how he's getting on. Yeah, you've landed there massively with that super rare. Jesus.
Yeah, I got really lucky with that one. So now that I'm on a high, Mr. Trades, do you have something that will keep me going here? Another card that maybe I own that we can pump up?
I mean, you should own him. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Referring to the player that I'm about to tell you, but yeah, there's a bit of a theme with my my two picks this episode. Both actually defenders, both centre backs, both playing in the Championship. Unfortunately, not for the same team. But our first player is Jordan Bayer of Burnley, a player that it's funny. I mentioned him in our little looking up with Laird group chat probably 3 weeks ago now. I'm just looking now. Yeah, roughly was game week 314. I think I mentioned him when he went on a streak of playing 3 games basically in the row, and then he ended up getting a niggle, so he was out for 2. But he's come back into the team, played 290 minutes against Norwich and Reading, and got himself a 33 AA and a 43 AA with no clean sheet actually in that one on the weekend against Reading. Yeah, somebody that I've known about for a long time since he sort of like emerged at Gladbach. So he is actually on loan from Gladbach in the Bundesliga. I kind of expected him to sort of try and, just be in and around their team actually this season. But for whatever reason, company gave him the call and he sort of decided to make it's a weird-ish move going from the Bundesliga to the Championship, I guess. But the fact that he's probably been offered like a lot of minutes, maybe weren't going to get them at Gladbach. And I think it seems like company loves him, and he's a ball-playing centre-back. He's under 23 until 2024. I think his limited's around like $20 right now. I think he'd be priced way more than this if there weren't for those couple of DMPs. It's actually funny. I went to go watch him against my hometown club, Cardiff City, and he was actually on the bench. That was in game week 310. And he'd only played 190 minute before that. So I don't know, maybe it was a niggle. I don't know the exact extent of that. But yeah, like I said, I just don't understand why he's the price he is compared to like a Harwood Bellis, who's at like nearly $200 for a limited, right? I know Bellis is younger, English, blah, blah, blah. Like there is factors, but for the most part, they play together. He scored better than Bellis did on the weekend. I think he did the game before as well. Against Norwich. So yeah, for me, you've got like a Bundesliga level player playing in the Championship under 23. I see value there personally.
I love this call for a number of reasons, not least of which is the kind of comparison with Harwood Bellis, that he seems like someone that like everybody knows and wants, and anybody with Muric is like, oh yeah, let me just combine him with Harwood Bellis and I'll go from there. But I mean, score-wise, they seem fairly similar for those on the screen. If you just go to if you go on one of their player pages and you go to the stacks tab, you can kind of see where each one scores. So on this graph, you can see Harwood Bellis is in blue and Bayer's in orange. And I mean, when they play, they're pretty similar. And so they're similar enough that the price difference seems wild. Like, obviously, as you mentioned, like he had the DNPs. He's not quite as young, although he does have like a full another season of U23 eligibility. And I don't know how many people are like holding on to U23 cards for 4 years or whatever it is. So, yeah, this is like,
yeah, Harry is one of them.
Yeah, just probably.
That's true. I found the one person. You're right.
I had a look as well, like that last game that he played in against Reading, he made 22 passes into the opposition's half, which equates to like 11 points. How crazy is that?
It's, wow. I mean, this like possession screen is just filled with everything you want to see, like winning 9 of 11 duels. Yeah, the 87 accurate passes, the long passes into that's an absurd number, 22. My gosh. 10 accurate.
I think that's the reason.
Balls.
I think companies, sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's one of the reasons why companies sort of come out and said that like he's too valuable on the ball. Not that he's not good defensively either, because they do have a backup in Charlie Taylor that can, well, this pretty veteran in the sort of English leagues and whatever, and in the Prem, I guess. But yeah, for whatever reason, the Bayer and Bellis combination seems to be working for Burnley. Obviously, they're top of the league. And yeah, like you said, I just don't understand the difference in price. I get it, I do, but I just think Bay is waiting to explode in that sense because of the couple of DMPs, niggles, whatever. They don't look as attractive as Bellis because Bellis does not miss a game, to be fair to him. So I understand it. I do get it, but I just think I know we're going into a World Cup, so there's going to be obviously there's no games for Burnley in that sense, but I do think there could be some value in him for sure.
Well, they come back for the knockouts, don't they? So it's only a couple of weeks out.
Yeah.
You know what? This is the problem with this show. I am looking at that graph and I'm like, right, I'm going to go buy one of them. And like, I'm trying really hard to slim down the limited side of my gallery in order to pool my resources more efficiently. And then every time I sit here with Harry, I end up buying one of his players.
Full disclosure, I do have a rare and a super rare, but I've owned that super rare since a very long time, basically. I bought him at Gladbach. Let me see if I could give you the exact sort of time in my gallery. 10 months ago. So, yeah, a long time ago. I paid a decent amount for him at the time because he was sort of touted to sort of be in that Gladbach team. And yeah, so I don't know. I've had some good offers on him recently as well, which is just sort of, yeah, I guess it just shows that he is a player, basically. And yeah, and he's playing again. But I have added a rare to my contingency, like Laird said earlier with the Muric situation. I've gone full Burnley defense, basically.
I mean, based on these scores, I'm not sure there's anything wrong with that situation. Like, to be able to, let's see, Harwood Bellis. Yeah, just the three of them combined. I mean, 17% of the time they're 60. Is pretty good. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
Yeah. Liked it so much, my cameras are going all over the place. Well done. Well done. All right, Sam, who is next up on your list for player who his situation is looking up?
So what, the player that you threatened to shut the entire show down over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still
Would we
might.
actually want to? Do I want to? Is it safe, Harry? Can you promise me that we'll gang up on him if he tries to shut the show down?
Yes, it's a 2v1.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, it's Willian. I mean, I'm as shocked as you are that I'm sat here talking about him in these tones. But it's also serves as a bit of a crossover because we did talk about him on the episode of Ranks this week. So there's my plug. But Willian, I really thought his career was over, guys. Like I really, really did, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one. He is 34 years of age. He went back to Brazil and didn't do very well with Corinthians at all. And it's a bit of a sad story, really, just beyond like, you know, barely playing 90 minutes and the scores are really all over the place and getting onto the pitch was tough. But he got the reason he cites that he ended up leaving Corinthians 6 months early is because he was getting abused very badly on social media. And he and his family were receiving too much abuse for comfort. So that's a really sad story. I mean, you know, you go home to Brazil, you go to play out the last stages of career at home, and you end up coming back to England because you're being abused. Yeah. That's horrific. And so I thought really, being forced back into a Premier League context at his age, and especially given how the Arsenal spell went, which was really bad, I just thought there was absolutely no hope here whatsoever. And yet, if we just take a look at where he's sort of got to in a Fulham context, I mean, he joined very late in the window, needed a little bit of time to get going. But those last three games, I mean, it's not bad, guys. And it's the theme of my week, which is if you're looking for a threshold forward, all of his cards are forwards. If you're looking for a threshold forward, it's a difficult, if you're on that budget, it's a difficult spot to fill. Because obviously you can't afford like number 9s who score loads of goals, because that we're talking about Ciro Immobile and players like that who are just like really expensive. And then you can go for a striker that always starts but never scores, but that might not get you anywhere, particularly if you're on the no goalkeeper side of things.
Yeah.
So really the best solution is to buy a winger who has a forward card. and who may chip in with the odd goal, but really he's going to get you to 50 on the all-round stuff, on the AA. And his AA in the last three games are really, really promising. And look, my podcast, Ranks FC, I've got two co-hosts. They're both Fulham fans. They've both been beside themselves over the last 3 weeks as to just how good he has been. The way he forces the game down to play at his own speed, just a touch of class that he shows. It's no wonder that he's up in his AA is looking pretty good. And I go ahead and I look at his score and I'm like, his price. I'm like, look, if you need a threshold forward, like buy Willian rare and just ride it through to the end of the season. It's essentially like it's kind of like what I did with my initial threshold forward. I got Felipe Anderson from Lazio, who always starts on the wing. Didn't actually score that much last season, but pretty much always ground his way through to 50. And I think that's what we're looking at here.
So you're right.
Like, what's wrong?
That way. So much so that my camera's just given out. Like, this is where we are here. Apologies to everyone watching there. So everything you said is right. And I think that there is, like, I'm biased because not that I like used to own a Willian card, but like, I think it's just the whole Corinthians thing was like you said, it was like he was going home and he was supposed to like be great there. And obviously the situation turned out to be much worse than like anyone thought in terms of like the off the pitch stuff. And so it's like really comforting that he found a better situation and he seems to be thriving. And I'm upset because you're right. And these prices are really, really low. Like he's obviously, well, I don't want to say he's obviously not getting new cards anytime soon because all of this talk that he might be getting cards and everyone else in the Premier League. But yeah, I think these prices, certainly for limited, are really cheap. And I think you're correct that it fits in on the whole threshold situation. Absolutely.
I don't know how much value there is there in the limited version of Willian. Given the heights you have to hit nowadays to win a card in limited, I'm not sure about that. But again, from a threshold perspective, it is certainly for me something like, it's not perfect. Like he's 34, but I think he probably pays himself back in 2 months at the very worst. So like if you are chasing that threshold, like if you are worried about the longevity, honestly, 2 months worth of use and you'd have paid for him anyway. So anything else is just a bonus. But he's a nice little crutch there. If you are struggling for a forward, look, threshold forwards, there's no perfect solution that's really cheap. That's kind of where you are. That's the situation you're in. You have to find something a little bit outside of the box. And suddenly Willian is coming to life again for the first time in 2.5 years. And it's a very nice story, but it's something you can probably jump on and benefit from.
Is he taking corners? Any idea?
I'm not sure.
Like he's always been a really good set piece. I think he might. Taker.
Yeah, I think Pereira definitely is their main set piece taker. But it wouldn't surprise me if Willian has a hand in a couple of them.
Yeah, like if he's over there, then maybe he.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, for a change, I'm always sat here talking about players that bit of World Cup utility. There's no World Cup utility for Willian. Let's not get not get carried away. Not get carried away at all. But you know what? Sometimes as well, like we always look at these cards. We're always looking for he's got midweeks. He's got internationals. He's got World Cups. Like that's all really nice, and obviously that has a massive value. But sometimes, again, you put yourselves in the shoes of that person whose primary target is 250. Actually, all that stuff is noise that you don't need because it just muddies the water on whether or not they're going to play, whether they might be rotated. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it's just like one of those, the guy's going to play 1 game a week. Mm-hmm. It's ideal.
All right, I was wrong.
Why are you so haunted?
I'm just kidding. The show will go on, guys. Don't worry. Sam has convinced me, and we can go on with Willian. All right. Harry, why don't you finish this off here with another championship center back who I assume is somewhere between the age of 18 and 22.
He is, unfortunately. We've got a fella called Callum Doyle, who's 19 years old, on loan at Coventry from Man City. So a similar situation to Bellis.
This guy.
He's under 23 until 2028. He's very new to the platform. So yeah, obviously has only got cards since Coventry have been minted.
He looks about 14, Harry.
That's really
he looks 13 there. But he's like 6'5", 6'4". Yep. He's massive. And that's one of the reasons why I was sort of shocked. Like I've watched a lot of his highlights, and he's basically like a very young carbon copy version of like Laporte, left-footed, quite a thick build for a 19-year-old at least. He's played youth internationals, under 19s for England. He actually played a whole season last season for Sunderland in League One. Played over 40 games as an 18-year-old, wow, which is ridiculous. Obviously, that won't show up on Sorare Data, of course, because League One isn't Opta scored. But yeah, he did, and that came to a bit of a shock to me as well. And yeah, his recent scores have been pretty decent. He plays in a back three with a certain Jonathan Panzo, who does score equally as well. But yeah, I'm just impressed to see a 19-year-old scoring this well and playing this frequently in the Championship, to be honest. And, you know, you got to expect this from Man City youth, loanees. It's going to happen. They're going to be the creme de la creme of English talent. But the fact that, like, he's just doing it, like, it's all well and good going there, but to get the manager's trust at 19 years old tells me a lot, basically. And yeah, I'm just sort of excited to see where he can go further on in the season. And yeah, for me, I think things are definitely looking up for Callum Doyle.
Definitely. I watched him play quite a lot over the summer because I watched all of England's international games in the under-19 Euros, obviously. And he was at the heart of the defence for the whole thing, and we won. And he's massive. He's just massive. That's what he is. It is pretty astonishing. The physical shape that he cuts on the pitch as so young, and I actually didn't know that he'd done an entire. I knew he was on loan at Sunderland. I didn't quite know that he was that integral. He has grown up fast. That's how I'll put it. Yeah. He is playing the men's game very early doors.
There is also a unique. Wild. There's a unique on auction right now.
Already?
There is, yes.
Wow. You going to buy it?
I was just about to say, yeah. Are we buying it or what?
Well, Mark Aleli's got a bid on it right now, so I don't want to, sort of interfere with anything. But no, I don't really have the money for it, to be completely honest. I think the Super Rare went for like 0.4, so you're looking at, it's got to be 2 to 3 ETH minimum, doesn't it? Probably for the unique, I'd imagine. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, the answer is no, but I would like to, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we just scoot around in my pocket and find you 2 to 3 ETH so you can borrow.
Yeah, all the best.
He might be the youngest looking player on the platform. I mean, in fairness, he's probably one of the youngest anyway. So
yeah.
I love this call. I love that we now have 2 Callums from Coventry City on the list, on our watch list.
And look at mine there, letting the side down on that with that horrible yellow. Man, everyone else looking good. Yeah,
just when we were talking about patting ourselves on the back, but I happened to choose the wrong game.
And
obviously, young Callum O'Hare here does have 2 decisives in his last 3 games. No, and so look at that. Sam got kicked off because he had to.
My God, just because I was pumping my own stuff again, you kicked me off.
That's what happens when you give the guy with the letdown, when all of this dark green, and then all of a sudden, Callum O'Hare not there.
Yeah. Fun fact: I've actually been to Nando's with Ben Wilson, the Coventry City goalkeeper.
What did he order?
I don't remember. It was a few years ago. One of my best friends, he actually used to live with him basically whilst he was at Cardiff City. So, kind of got to know him quite well for a little while. But I don't know. I don't actually remember.
That is very disappointing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That is disappointing.
Yeah,
he's a very, very nice guy, though.
All right. I'll
Great
take
guy.
that. All right. All right. So that's the list. The 4 guys that we added today were Majid Husseini, Jordan Bayer, Willian, and Callum Doyle. If anybody is subscribed to the Looking Up with Laird on Sorare TV watch list on Sorare Data, you will already see those guys on the list. If you haven't subscribed to that one, just check out the link in the description below. Harry and Sam, thank you very much for all of those picks today. If you, meaning the watchers, have enjoyed the video, if you guys could please hit the like button, subscribe to Sorare TV because there's going to be a lot more stuff coming out. Obviously, we'll be here every week. Videos have been coming out on Thursdays, so you can always look forward to those. And then there's a lot of lineup builders, some specialist and underdog stuff going on that's really interesting. Feel free to watch and like those videos, but obviously the priority is with Laird as I back. Sorry. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next week.